So class, we're getting into some fun stuff. The stuff is animation. You should have done the previous assignments to this. On this one, you need to watch the video about squash and stretch, learn about why that's important, and then you're going to use squash and stretch, which might be one of the most important principles of animation, and you're going to animate a stick figure to jump. So you can do a jump like illustrated here, where a person jumps from one place to another, kind of left to right or right to left, or you can do a jump kind of like this cat. And if you want to, you can add more stuff after this jump. But the main thing here is that with the jump, you're adding squash and stretch. So if you look here, the cat squashes when it lands, and it stretches as it goes into the air, then it lands again. So the software we're going to be using is called Pivot Animator. It should be on your desktop and look like this. Okay, the first thing I do is make my character a little smaller so I have more room for them to jump. So make sure the character is selected. Come over here to the left. These are your character editing options. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here on the scale, and you can either type in 50 or just click and drag to the left and get your character around 50%, so half scale. And you can change color of your character, play around with this stuff if you like. Alright, I'm going to zoom in with my scroll wheel. And then for me, I'm just going to have them jump straight up and down. You can have them jump left to right, whatever you want to do. But just for ease of this demonstration, I'm going to do up and down. So the orange dot lets you drag the character around. And then the red dots are the pivot points. So like that's like a kneecap. If I grab the foot down here and bend it, now it pivots there. What we want to do is get a good starting position, and our character is going to crouch from here, kind of preload for the jump, jump up and stretch, and then land and squash. Now remember, for this assignment, what you're graded on is off this rubric. So check this rubric, but for right now, here's what it says. It says uses squash and stretch, you get 10 points. If it only uses like partial squash and stretch, like say it doesn't squash when he lands or when he jumps, you might get partial points. And then the animation should be pretty smooth. So that's where you're getting your points from. Alright, so one thing that's good practice is to avoid twinning. That's where both arms or legs move at the exact same, they like mirror each other through their movements. It doesn't look too natural. So it's just another thing to help you. You're not graded on this, but it helps. So I'm going to start with one arm down a little more than the other, one knee bent a little bit, and I'm going to make sure the character is right here on the bottom. And then I'm going to push spacebar, or you can say add frame, same thing. So if I hover over this, it says add store the frame. Spacebar is the key used for it. So spacebar, there's a frame up here now. Now if I move this character, there's a ghost. That gives me a good reference for my last frame. So I'll show you what I mean. So to crouch, the beginning of this jump, we got to kind of preload for it. What we need to do is move the whole character down, and then I'm going to bend the knees up, and then put the feet back where they originally were. Because when you're jumping, your feet are they're planted when you're preloading for this jump. And I didn't move them a ton, just a little bit, maybe like a ½ inch, because I want it to look natural. And there's this thing called slow in, slow out, where you kind of have to build up momentum for things. So at the first, we're starting slow, and then we gain speed as we crouch down. Come down a little more. And you see I moved a bit more this time. Oops, actually, let's go back to there. I want this to be a frame, so I'm going to do spacebar. And now, let's see what we have. Alright, yeah, this guy's got some moves. So, click here on the second frame, and let's get him ready for the third frame. I'm going to move him down a little more. If you do these movements too fast, that's what makes your animation choppy. So just pay attention to this, make sure you're not moving too fast. I'm going to start bringing this arm down a little bit more too. So that looks pretty good. You can bend the joints, so if you right click on the dot, you can actually make them bend, but I'm not going to do it. You can play with this if you want. I'm just going to make them kind of stiff for now. Spacebar. We're going to put this person way down. Like, this is like a yoga instructor here. They're just really good at preloading for this jump. I'm going to put the arms down all the way. Spacebar. And then we're going to start springing up. And we're going to do the first one not too far, because it's just, we're gaining momentum. So I don't want to put the next frame like right up here. I'm going to put it somewhat close to this last frame. I'm going to start moving the arms up. You can use the arms to swing himself up. This one I'm going to move a little more, because we're gaining speed here. We're getting out of this squash, and we're going to start stretching out. I'm going to have this arm go up a little more than the other arm. Okay, and then this one we're going to move even more. Now we're off the ground. All right, so really your character, the fastest movement should be right here at the bottom. So this next one will put pretty far too, but then he's going to start slowing down. So once again, the legs are getting a little closer together, but gravity's starting to, it's going to start acting on him. And once I get to here, I'm just going to make a couple that are closer and closer till the top, barely moving. And start coming down. Small movements, but getting bigger. Start moving the arms down. We're gaining speed, we're being accelerated by gravity. And the last one we hit. And I'm going to have this squash happen pretty quick because we're decelerating fast. All right, so let's see what that looks like. Okay, it looks pretty good. So if you submit that, that'd be an A. Something similar. And like I said, you can have them jump from left to right or right to left, or you can have them do this and then do a tumble and a fly kick, and you can add stuff to this, but make sure you have this down and it looks good. And that's it for this assignment. Just have fun with it. You know, you might have to start over once or twice, but just work on it and you'll get it. It's not too bad. Once you're done, go File and Save, and then submit that file in Canvas.